Продовжуємо роботу в Україні.
We continue our work in the UCMC, and now we'll be talking about the scenario of spatial development for Mystetskyi Arsenal, present and future, visioned by the international expert team. Our speakers are Adriana Pablos, workshop coordinator, Maria Rastvorova, workshop participant, Solomiya Borshosh, deputy director for development of Mystetskyi Arsenal, and also Bogdan Kapacila, Connections School Coordinator. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. We're happy to welcome you here during our discussion about the development of the Mystetskyi Arsenal. Probably most of you know that Mystetskyi Arsenal is one of the biggest cultural institutions in Ukraine, which is 60,000 square meters in space and about 10 hectares of territory. Now, in our institution, we're using only 12,000 square meters. That's the ground floor of Mystetskyi Arsenal, which you probably often see in our projects. Book Arsenal, fashion, Gnilitsky exhibition, news museum. These are the exhibitions that we had in 2017 only. When we came to the team of Mystetskyi Arsenal, Olesya Ostrovska-Luta, myself, Yulia Vaganova, also the deputy director of Mystetskyi Arsenal, our objective was to understand what's the strategy of Mystetskyi Arsenal for next minimum 10 years and what to do with that. What should be our next steps? This year we dedicated to our work on development of the strategy. We dedicated it to understanding what are the ideas of other participants of the society who are also interested in development of our institution. And in February this year, we drafted and published our strategy, the concept of the strategy of Mystetskyi Arsenal. According to that, Mystetskyi Arsenal is the flagship of the arts in Ukraine. It respects values of solidarity, of critical and responsible thinking, as values of self-identification. Also within this strategy, we understand that it is important to put together different types of arts, to put them physically into one location. That's why we opened the literature laboratory, contemporary art laboratory. We are planning to open theater arts laboratory and others. Mystetskyi Arsenal, according to our vision, should become the institution which in English is called focal point for different social art practices, which will produce new high-quality Ukrainian cultural content. Also, we are planning during next 50 years, don't be afraid of this figure, we are planning to develop the collection of contemporary Ukrainian art. Sometimes such work takes 100 years, but we understand that we need to start this work, to have the place to exhibit it. We need to think about spatial solutions and architectural solutions. And so we, within our team, will listen to each other. We'll listen to invited experts like Dieter Bogner, who's a museum planner, visionary, like Pan Duchovichny, the architect, and other experts. For less than a year, we have the initiative group national strategy. That is a very good indicator of our civil society, and that is that we invite other people to develop our institution. That's probably the best thing that could happen. New people, new ideas, and workshop connections demonstrated it, that 4 teams, Adriana will tell you in detail about them, 4 teams were working, and all their experience, all their ideas, they were focusing on what should Mystetskyi Arsenal become. We see the continuation of our cooperation in the fact that it is important to think all together about that. I mean, our initiative group and new people who are joining our group, so that in the end we produce very good step-by-step plan of implementation of the strategy. At that, I will give the floor to my colleagues, to Adriana and Maria, and they will tell what they... I believe that workshop connections took place 3 weeks ago, so what they developed, which ideas, and what is their vision of Mystetskyi Arsenal. I also would like to thank my colleagues from the workshop for this new spirit that inspired us again. And we understood that we are on the right track of drafting the strategy, and the implementation plan is what Mystetskyi Arsenal needs, and the vision that we have coincides with the ideas of the colleagues. So thank you for inspiration, and I would like to give the floor to you for more detailed description.
Yeah, for your words. And so I will start by introducing my colleague, Bogdan Kaputsila. He's a school coordinator of the school educational program of School Connections, and also Maria. She was a participant of the workshop. So, and for myself, I'm Adriana Pablos. I'm a Spanish architect. So I worked in architectural and open design in Spain, Switzerland, and why am I here? So it is because of connections. So connections, actually, I will introduce it briefly. It's actually the first. It's the first school for urban studies here in Ukraine, and its goal is to research, study, and foster the modern Ukrainian cities, and so develop the country. And so it was born from festivals, from architectural festivals that were annually held. And so from this success, now they developed like a different variety of school programs between research studios, advanced studies, trainings, and workshops, like the one we did. And well, this year has been the 10th international festival, and it was held in their house in Mystetskyi Arsenal from the 2nd and 3rd of June. And it was organized under this research idea of values. So, and between this, in addition to this collaboration from both institutions, it was thought that a workshop of 6 days, an international workshop, should be held in order to combine the challenges that the Mystetskyi Arsenal has, and this sort of intuition and this aim that connection has always to look for the challenges and to sort of to explore what can be done on further steps. Well, the creator of this workshop was Miriam Niemeyer. She's a partner in Helsinki and Zurich office, and it was along with Future Architecture Platform selected participants. There was a Greek architect, Fanny Costoro, as a tutor. It was also Victor Cano, also from Spain, from Madrid, another tutor, and myself. And so what we did, we started it was 6 days, as I said before, from the 29th of May till the 3rd of June, sorry. And it was first an open call for participants. Well, we received many applications, and we selected 21. So in the end, 20 came, and sort of it was almost half of locals and foreigners. And well, here's a photo of how we worked. The first day, how we started the workshop was mainly listening to Mystetskyi Arsenal needs, and so we had the inputs of Julia Baganova, the deputy director of the museum and exhibition activities. She introduced us how the Arsenal, what it was a museum, and what they were looking for, and what is the aim and the goal. Then we also had Julia Kolomak for the financial situation, how things were addressed and what was the actual situation. And also for us to introduce the cultural scene of Kiev, we had Sasha Burlaka and Boris, yes, sorry for my pronunciation, Yegerzari. It's a local artist, and he came to show us about and talk about the art scene. And of course, we were always in contact with the Arsenal. They were always very available to us, and we also had Olga Melnik through the workshop to explain about how the constructions were going, how was the state of the museum going, and always with project manager Anna Porinia. Sorry for my
Аня Погрібна, дякую.
Sorry, that's great, thank you. So how we started, so after all these inputs, we sort of went around the whole territory from the inside the building, and from the first floor, upper floor, and we also sort of spied a bit on the courtyard, and then also from the exterior, the whole territory. And so from there, by the end of the first day, we had this amazing sort of all the participants personally sort of produced the first ideas for first concepts. So we had this big brainstorm of 20 guys thinking and outputs, and from there they were gathered in groups, in 4 teams, to develop the strategies in terms. Also, we had 4 teams, and 3 were focused on long-term strategies, step by step, and then one was focused on, okay, how do we start? Like pop-up, first thing, what could be done? And so Maria will tell you one of the how one of the groups approached it, but to outline 5 sort of common topics, common concept ideas that there were sum up in all the groups was this for the development of Mystetskyi Arsenal. This urgently needs to connect with the people, sort of to become a center for the country of art and culture. So this kind of connection is needed, and one of the most powerful assets the Arsenal has right now is its position in the city and its space. It has a wonderful plot, and it can easily become sort of a place of the people, but just by opening the entrance space to find this connection. And also that it was a third thing that it was really explored through the workshop, that is this kind of, you can start the change without real investment. There are things that you can start really doing. This is something that we pursued all the time. And also a fourth one would be that it has the power, it has the identity of becoming sort of to leading this artist, the exchange process of art by leading this exchange process, sort of so that they can foster the industry here, the art world here in Ukraine. And lastly, that it should be explored and it's needed to separate the ownership and daily management, sort of, and the institution will become a lot free, will become a lot freer. And I will hear some posters of different different teams with the from the outcomes, different ideas that explored. And it was all presented on the main stage on the last day of the festival. So these are the groups, and from here, what we're looking for is this, as Solomiya said before, it's this kind of cooperation. Keep talking about it. So now we have this press conference. Then this week we will have a gathering from Connections and Arsenal to talk deep in the concepts, and also with the participants that keep in touch with us and see how it goes. So from my side, I will pass the micro to Maria so she can go deep in one group. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the team of Connections project and to the Mystetskyi Arsenal team who became parts for the opportunity to become part of this very aspiring project and to work in the international team. As Adriana mentioned, there were 21 participants from different countries in different areas with different experiences and visions. Why I applied for participation in the Connections workshop and what was my motivation to become a part of this team. I think that interdisciplinary approach is very important. My role was to represent the approach of a human geographer, and in the workshop context, I introduced geographical vision, geographical point of view. As I am manager of events in the Society of Ukrainian Local History Researchers, and I would like to present you how we worked. The team comprised architects, some archaeologists, and other very, very good experts. Our objective was to turn Arsenal into a place for people. What does it mean, Mystetskyi Arsenal? As Solomiya mentioned, long ago it was an institution where weapons and arms were repaired and produced, while now this is a cultural institution, and we wish to disseminate culture and values among people. So Arsenal is a space for people. Arsenal is the place where values are confirmed. You can see the values on this slide. They should be reflected in this space. Participants of our team, 4 teams actually, worked during a week. On first day, we had a sightseeing tour with Hannah. So we reviewed everything in Arsenal, saw all the premises, all the property, all the assets, and got an idea about contemporary mission of the Arsenal, and thought about the future, about its mission after some 10, 15 years. So the first point of our attention was the site itself. We walked around the territory, and this is our vision of what we would like to add. Of course, many of you visited Arsenal and you saw a lot of barriers. Now we are thinking about the world without barriers, including visa-free regime. And we decided to remove the barriers and to make Arsenal a site where the access is free. Here you see our ideas for the courtyard. That is what you can see now. We plan to make a small landscape garden there. And in the courtyard, we would like to uncover the archaeological artifacts. In the past, there was the old church located, and the foundations of this church could be displayed for public. We also produced our vision of the zoning of this territory to make it more inclusive for all people, children, women, people with disabilities, etc. The core, each place has its core identity, and I think that Arsenal is a place where the soul of Ukrainian art should live. But in order to implement this, we have to improve some aspects. We looked at the limitations or restrictions of the Arsenal development. In the future, we would like to turn Arsenal into a place, into a site made by people for people, which would allow to develop creative ideas of Ukrainian nation. The Arsenal should become the attraction for international artists, and we would like to hold biennales there, or maybe other international events. Also, Adriana and some other participants of the workshop produced a logical question: how to reach this goal, how to turn Arsenal into a space for people. We believe that Arsenal should be transferred partially, that administration of Arsenal should be partially transferred to community, create crowdfunding platforms, and the workshop participants, connection, etc. We hope that the workshop will be continued, not in a format of creative week, but in a format of partner work for implementation of the objective of Arsenal. To sum up, thank you once again. I would like to thank you and to invite you to share your reflections and ideas, what you think Arsenal should be. We have a lot of ideas. Sometimes they represent some extremes in ideas. Sometimes when you try to implement some idea or think how to implement it, you transform the original idea. So after some period of strategic thinking about the future of Arsenal, we will very soon start implementation of those strategic vision. First changes, first novelties in Arsenal. And here the best way is to hear your colleagues, to hear every day. I think that synergy of ideas is able to produce good result. Thank you.
I think between also it's connected from what you exposed and also you, that this is like it was one part of different teams, and now the work for us that we will discuss it together is just like to put all the groups' inputs, sort of to make a general understanding, because you say it's like you have to step back and see everything and what strategy leads to what. So this is something that we will be discussing, like from this group to the other three that we had, and sort of to come to a broader spectrum. Thank you.
Так, дуже дякуємо вам за увагу.
Thank you very much for your attention. Now we had an opportunity to listen to all the speakers. I would like to remind you that we had Adriana Pablos, coordinator of the workshop and representative of Connections Initiative, Solomiya Borshosh, Deputy Director General of Mystetskyi Arsenal, and Maria Rastvorova, Manager of Educational Projects in Geograph Researchers. I thank you for your attention and invite you to ask questions. Dear colleagues, whether you have any questions? Don't forget to mention who you are. I have a question about partial transfer of Mystetskyi Arsenal to community property. What do you mean under this? As of the moment, this is a strategic vision. We are currently developing this strategic vision in more detail. As of now, we suggested pilot idea to make an arsenal a trust under the community administration. Of course, in the future, Arsenal will remain the state property, but since currently we implement the decentralization reform, so we would like the Kyiv community to have some part of control, partially have control over Arsenal. One of the possibilities to create advisory board for the Arsenal and invite people to participate in. Another aspect is funding of the Arsenal and participation of a local community in Arsenal management would allow people to contribute to funding of the Arsenal. Solomiya may add more.
I believe it is important to emphasize on what Maria started saying, irrespective of the form, because the form from the point of view of legal mechanism doesn't really suit us, as well as private-public partnership. We are the institution under the State Department of Affairs, and we cannot use the PPP. Maria and participants of the workshop, what they meant, it is important for the society to get involved into the life of Mystetskyi Arsenal, and what we are doing now, it's not so important to have the legal form, but it is important to get the society involved. We have a supervisory board of Mystetskyi Arsenal, which includes more than 15, or I may be mistaken, highly respected Ukrainian persons, starting from Mr. Paschaver, Mr. Gritsak, Marina Poroshenko as well. And this board is very active. They had their meetings twice this year. We usually discuss with them how to move forward, how to address this or that issue, how to get closer. This is one form of attracting the society, and another form of involving the society is how to feel our visitors better. On the 17th of June, this Saturday, we launched the project of microsociology to research the visitors' opinions, starting from who are our visitors and down to what are the preferences of this visitor. And such forms of involving the society, they do exist, and if we use some others, then it will be perfect. This is it.
Так, ми абсолютно
Yes, we absolutely agree with Mystetskyi Arsenal. This is very inspiring that you are involving people. Culture is the weapons. Solomiya and Adriana will agree, and also the active people are also a weapon of transformation. So please ask questions if you have any questions. Thank you. I have a question. Continuing this discussion, will you be forming some community on the basis of Mystetskyi Arsenal? What do you mean? Initiative group or community for development? Community, it's not like initiative group, but the community that would support Arsenal, that would strengthen it, maybe interdisciplinary representatives of different communities. I have an answer to your question.
Якщо говорити з точки
Talking about intellectual, cultural community, we hope that this will be achieved via our laboratories, our literature laboratory, theater laboratory. We have not launched theater, but we have launched the literature and contemporary arts laboratory. They organize different discussions, workshops. Last Saturday there was a seminar workshop. I'm the curator. That's not just forming ourselves as the institution, but the cultural and intellectual socium. And that is also the mission of Mystetskyi Arsenal, not just to develop our 10 hectares and our projects, but to add value to the general social practices in culture. Talking about community in Mystetskyi Arsenal, there's the club of Friends of Mystetskyi Arsenal, but it's not an active one, and our plan for this year is to reanimate this club, to understand who's in that club. You saw the names of these people at the entrance to Mystetskyi Arsenal, whether these people are still interested in participation in the development of Mystetskyi Arsenal. Also, we want to attract some other people. I don't know whether it will be called the Club of Friends of Mystetskyi Arsenal or not, but we are planning to have this community. So follow the news.
Very good news, and you also mentioned this entrance or whatever. You're too important. For example, I would just say one thing: for the entrance, it's all in Ukrainian, for example. So this is one thing that, I mean, you have this strength. Like, I would be crazy to be your friend, and I hope that this friends club or whatever you have to develop, and it's good that you're already doing it. But for example, this business is like everyone wants to know more about, and especially even as a foreigner, I would say that it's good to be able to know about it. Thank you.
Я думаю, що ви також маєте ще 21.
You also have 21 friends, and these are the participants of the workshop and also the Society of Researchers of Ukraine. Nice to hear that. Thank you all. Thank you for questions. Maybe you have any other questions. Once you have no more questions, all the best to you, and this is it. Thank you.